Welcome to the assembly video for the Jumpking family 10x15 oval combo. This video will walk you step by step through the process of putting together your new trampoline. Frame assembly. Lay out all leg assemblies in tubes labeled A through E. You should have 4 top rails with T connectors labeled A, 2 top rails with T connectors labeled B, 2 top rails with T connectors labeled C, 2 top rails with T connector labeled D, 2 top rails with T connector labeled E, 6 W-shaped legs, and 12 leg extension poles. Connect the top rails in 3 sections. Take 2 A top rails and connect them together. Repeat with the other 2 A top rails. Next, take a B top rail and insert it into the D top rail. Repeat with the other B and D top rails. Next, insert the E into the C top rail. Then repeat with the other E and C top rails. Now let's assemble the legs. Take 1 W-shaped leg and 2 leg extensions. Insert the leg extensions into each side of the W-shaped leg base as shown. Take the completed leg assembly and insert it into the T connectors on each frame assembly. There will be a little tension as you put the other side of the leg assembly into the second T connector. This is normal and will keep the frame together. You may need to push down on the end of the legs so they are completely inserted into the T connection. Repeat with the other legs until you have 6 sections assembled as shown. This step requires 2 people. During this step, you will connect the 6 sections together to complete the frame assembly. Take 1 DB section and 1 AA section and turn them over so the legs are on the ground. Insert the B end of the top rail into the A end closest to the leg. This should be able to stand by itself. Now repeat with the other DB and AA sections so you are left with 2 halves of your trampoline. Now get your last 2 sections. And connect the E end with the D end and the C end with the A end on either side of your trampoline frame. The frame should now be fully assembled. Bed pad assembly. Check to make sure you have all the springs, bed and pad. You will need the gloves, spring pulling tool, and safety glasses for this step. Lay the bed on the ground inside of the assembled frame. Make sure that the warning labels are facing up. Locate the V-rings with the colored stitches. Hook the first spring to the bed's colored stitching, V-ring, and attach to the center hole of the end of the frame. Next, go to the opposite end of the bed and find the other colored stitched V-ring and attach the spring to the V-ring and pull the spring using the spring pulling tool from the bed to the hole slot 180 degrees from the first hole slot. Attach the remaining springs in this order. Alternating in this order will help to distribute the tension, making assembly easier. This trampoline is equipped with over-under springs for better bounce. When completed, your frame and bed should look like this. Lay the frame pad on the frame with the ties facing downward. Adjust the position of the frame pad so the openings are aligned with the T connector with welded tubes on the frame. This is where the enclosure poles will go. Find the webbing straps near the edge of the bed. They are under the trampoline. Feed the strap around the pole and up through the D-rings and then loop it over and feed it between the 2 D-rings and pull downward to tighten. Repeat this with remaining straps. Enclosure assembly. You are now ready to assemble the safety enclosure for your trampoline. Spread out all the enclosured pieces, making sure you have all parts for assembling the enclosure. The only tools you will need is a Phillips head screwdriver. You should have 8 bottom enclosure tubes, 4 top enclosure bent tubes, 4 top enclosure tubes for the basketball hoop, 4 middle enclosure tubes for the basketball hoop, 2 horizontal tubes for the basketball hoop, 2 basketball hoops, 14 self-tapping screws, 2 8mm by 15mm flathead screws and washers. 4 8mm by 40mm nuts and bolts. Take the enclosure's top tube and bottom tube. Find the tapered end of the bottom tube and insert it into the top tube. Rotate the top tube and bottom tube so the screw holes align. Then screw the tubes together using a self-tapping screw. Repeat this with the remaining 3 bottom tubes and top tubes so you have 4 identical enclosure tube assemblies. Take the enclosure middle basketball tube and bottom tube. Find the tapered end of the bottom tube and insert it into the basketball middle tube. Rotate the middle basketball tube and bottom tube so the screw holes align. Then screw the tubes together using a self-tapping screw. Now connect the top basketball tubes and the horizontal basketball tube. Make sure the middle basketball hoop attachment pole points up. Take the 8mm by 40mm nut and bolt and washer and run through holes and tighten. Attach the top basketball tubes to the 2 basketball pole assemblies. Make sure the hole on the basketball attachment is facing back. Assemble the basketball hoop onto the horizontal tube with the 8mm by 15mm screw and washers. Repeat with the other basketball hoop. Now insert the basketball enclosure poles on either end of the trampoline. We are ready to attach the enclosure netting. Lay out the enclosure onto the trampoline bed. Adjust the netting so the enclosure door lines up with the yellow colored area of the safety pad. Standing on the trampoline, insert each rod into the top of each enclosure pole in the sequence. Now we are ready to stitch the bottom of the netting to the trampoline. Locate the cords. Tie the end of the cord through a V-ring on the trampoline bed. Thread the cord through the lower edge of the netting to the V-ring and webbing loop. Repeat this procedure until the entire cord is threaded through the netting. Keep the cord tight. Tie the end of the cord to the last V-ring that it reaches. From the underside of the trampoline, tie the remaining elastic straps through the V-rings. The trampoline is fully assembled.